So, Ruben, I think one of our, how to say, common interests is actually to understand why there is so much cruelty, why there is so much, horror in the world. And you are Armenian, and the Armenian genocide killed 1.5 million people in 1915, and it is still not, recognized by the Turkish government as a crime on humankind. And your family lived in Armenia in these days, as your grandfather lived in Armenia. And so you are third generation of a survivor. And what does it mean for you to be, let's say, a child of survivors? And secondly, how did the Armenian genocide change your personality? So how important is for you for your personal development? If you would like to share a little bit.
First of all, I'm very grateful for German nation and German parliament to take this pain and recognize not only responsibility for the Jewish Holocaust, but also being involved in Armenian genocide in the First World War, which was done without any pressure by German nation. I think it's a very good example for Russians and for Turkish people to recognize some of the horrible things which was done in their history. I want to just share with you a couple of things. I think it's Andrea is asking a very important point, because we spoke with Jean-Paul about this forgiveness. My grandfather was 7 years old when entire his family was killed, except the blind brother and sister. They've been the youngest, and they've been saved by a Turkish person, not by a Turkish person took them because they've been smallest on their special place with the horse driving, I don't know how to say in English, and took them to the Armenia. So he survived, and he grew up in orphan school. Just for your understanding, we calculate it's 120,000 kids went to orphan schools in Armenian region in 1915, 1918. In Armenia, in Greece, in Lebanon, in Syria. If you calculate today, 120,000 people in the third generation, it means 1 million Armenians today live it because somebody saved the lives of those kids. And it was the First World War, it was horrible conditions. And a lot of stories I found, which has amazed me because I didn't know about them when I started this project. My grandfather didn't want to talk about this, and he never shared a lot of information with me. A little bit more with my sister because she was 10 years older, and when he passed away I was only 15 years old. He would become a very famous professor of history, very honest and straightforward guy, very highly respected. And my father became professor of architecture, and I realized my success comes because somebody saved the life of my grandfather. And because somebody put their life under risk, and they decided to, despite they know, let's make something which is not obvious. So when 100 years came on commemoration of this event, I said it's a question not only about who killed and who was being killed, who been killed, but it's also who been saved and survivors who today living in the world basically got second chance because somebody gave a second chance, and saying thank you and giving back, I think is a very important element for all people, and not only genocide survivors, but also survivors from the different type of the natural disasters or health issues. Because overall, it's a big important point, I think, in our life, like giving back and gratitude in action. Our major slogan in Aurora, our animal, is a gratitude in action. Just, it's important, so we are not the richest country in the world, we're not the richest nation in the world. We are continuing struggling a lot of problems in Armenia, and but the same like Syrian or Lebanese people saving Armenian kids. We're not very rich at the time, but they've saved a lot of Armenian kids. So it's very important to give back, not when you're only rich, but also when you just feeling is a part of your nature. So we started this project, and we're really very proud about this project emotionally, because it's amazing stories we collected now. We collect 750 stories of people who are saving lives today in different parts of the world. And most of them are known. Most of them are known. Most of them, some of them like Denis Mukwege got now the Nobel Prize. He was our finalist in 2017, I'm sorry. But like Dr. Tom Katina, anyone heard about Dr. Tom Katina? I'll tell you, he's an American doctor who left America being very successful in Brown University and Duke University graduate like you, come from engineer doctor, and put his life dedicated to save the lives of others in Africa. He went to Sudan in 9 years. He was only one doctor for 750,000 people. He made more operations. He saved the lives. That's why his Muslim population, he names him Jesus, because he saved more lives than anybody else, and he doesn't care about his rebellions or his military people, or he just saving lives of his people. Red Cross, everybody left because it was so dangerous a place to stay. We got the prize for him, and it was interesting. The prize is unusual. We're giving $1.1 million, from which $100,000 went to him, and $1 million he dedicated to up to 3 institutions to inspire him. And by this, we did this already 3 times. We got Margaret Barankit from Burundi. We got him from Margaret Barankit is a woman who saved lives of tens of thousands of kids in Shalom in Burundi. Now been kicked out from Burundi. Now she lives in Rwanda because the Burundi president doesn't like her, and he stayed further 4 terms. I think Jean-Paul knows better the story. The other person is a Rohingya guy who basically 1 million Rohingya people was killed and disappeared by recent events in Myanmar. We got people, amazing story, like Sunita from India. She was 15 years old when she raped, and they kicked out for her family because of the being raped, and she started to fight against the raping the women. She is fighting already the last 30 years of this, and she saved the lives of. A story what you're hearing is unbelievable. For example, she told us, which I couldn't believe, is it true, but is it true? She bought out the 8-month-old child that was sold by parents to be sexually. Again, she's doing unbelievable, and he's been a couple times tried to be killed. Again, it's all people, but all we unified is a big love to the people. We're not hating. It's interesting to, and I hope we will forgive me, people who are doing human rights. In human rights fight, a lot of see hatiness. In the human values, and the people who do like Tom, it's a lot of Margaret Barankit, is a lot of love. It's a forgiveness, what Jambo said, and a readiness to put their life under risk, and without looking who is nationality, what religion was just because it's believed it's a big basic element. So it's Aurora for us, for me, from Nubar, for Vartan, who've been 3 founders. It become really something which is very special in the 21st century. Because we're becoming over stressed by so bad stories. Cambodia, Rwanda, Holocaust, Armenian, we can go many other stories. People are tired about all of this bad news, and sometimes indifference becoming the key driver of our behavior. We're saying we're not listening to the news, we don't want to listen. How many times we can listen about somebody was raped or somebody was killed, kids. And you're saying it's enough, I have my own problem. And this is engaging with people saying, guys, but this is where we can do something together. It's very important. Now in the 15 countries, because of our prize, it's a project realization happening because of these laureates give money back in ground level projects. And most of them, again, never get money from the big institution because we don't have all necessary financial reporting, all necessary financial and back office and others. So instinct exercise, we got now, like I said, 750 stories, 75 of them checked, and this is the heroes of people who didn't know each other. Now we know each other. Now we're meeting each other, we're helping each other. And it's sharing interesting stories. I believe it's unbelievable. By the way, if you have time, watch on the Aurora website. You can get in 6 languages the stories. We did a movie about them, some of finalists, like person from Afghanistan, from Jamil Afghani, from again many other places in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Congo, in Central African Republic. The guy in Central African Republic was he's a priest, and he saved first Christian people, after he saved Muslim people, because Muslim was killed by Christian, and after again he saved again Muslim. Again, it was an unbelievable story about him saving life, being 19 years monk, the Muslim and Christian, and looking which religion they are. I think it's a very good example of something people need to again see, not about terrorism, not only about bad things, because we are living in a world with a lot of bad news and a lot of I think again with some by character humans believe they're more interesting about hearing about some bad things. So I was telling a story about these people, and we're doing some of our dialogues with Andreas in Germany. We did it in Berlin, and they couldn't come. But again, this is an amazing story because we're talking about what we're doing. It's like normal things. That's why whenever you want to feel bad about your life, and whenever you feel about something you're not happy, just go watch these movies, and you'll be amazed by how people can feel happier being absolutely horrible conditions and having nothing around them, but they feel.
Ruben, I think for you, I think your character and being aware about the genocide and being, let's say, the grandchild of survivors, how did it? How did it influence you? Now, of course, you're doing a lot of humanitarian projects. Is there a certain anger, how to say, embedded, especially when we talk about Turkey, that it's completely ignored? There is still a reluctance to, let's say, at least, I think, to apologize.
Yeah, I understand.
And then maybe what actually drives me crazy, I don't understand human beings. They can be so wonderful and they can be so cruel.
Yeah, we are.
What?
And we're holding two elements inside ourselves. Yeah, bad and good. First of all, Armenians been victim nation 100 years, and this makes us stronger. I mean, like I said, I have Georgian blood also. My mother is half Georgian. And we're neighbor two countries, two Christian countries, very similar by history, being one of the first Christian countries around the Muslim countries, and we know we've been an easy life. But Armenian diaspora and Armenian network is unbelievable, more connected than Georgian. And you always say why. And one of the reasons, by the way, is tragedy. Tragedy unified nation. That's why it's victim nation. No, tragedy.
Tragedy.
Yeah. The tragedy would happen with us. That's why we've been victim nation, and something unifying people around. This is because when it's something horrible happening, you're feeling more, and it's egocentric, and you're feeling your pain is bigger pain than anyone else. You feel it's horrible things that happen with you, nobody can measure, not comparable with the Holocaust, not comparable with any other things. That's why it's a part of a little bit competition and jealousness about this. That's why being part of victim nation, I will say, it's quite challenging, because one thing you always feel is you need to always blame and complain and demand to recognition. On the other hand, you're feeling like, again, as a victim, which needs to be together, which is unifying you. I've been in Turkey in 2015. We did the Biennale in Istanbul, and I remember the story. We made to bring the exhibition of the different artists who made a non-Armenian about the genocide. And I remember the young girl who been guiding us, as a Turkish girl, said as a genocide, and she used the word genocide. By the way, in Turkey is forbidden. If you're using the genocide, you can go in prison. I said, well, you're not scared? I said, I don't have a cover. It's a genocide, and I know it's genocide. That's why it was interesting to see 300,000 Turkish people signed apologize. We have a website of 300,000 Turkish signed apologizing about genocide, whatever. So it's not like one, it's the same, it's a government and have a lot of people like Orhan Pamuk, it's a Nobel Prize winner, the writer of he also recognized. That's why it's not like I want to blame anybody of the same color. In our school in Royal College, we got kids from Turkey. From the first day, 4 kids in Turkey studying in Armenia. And I said it's a very important way we learn to be together. It's like integration of differences and understanding and accepting what we are different, and we need to accept what, despite all the pain and what we need to live together, is part of my philosophy. Again, I'm not sure it will be very easy for me, except if my daughter will come and say, I want to marry a Turkish man. I will be honest with you. But I thought about this. It was a really tough exercise. I will be ready to say yes about this and accepting this marriage. But and then I believe it's the only way we can integrate this type of the differences and understanding that despite of it's a very problem. My belief is a Turkish problem. It's not our problem. For us, the genocide happened. If we're not recognizing, we're trying to rewrite this history. It's making them much more weaker, and it's much easier, I believe, for Germans to go ahead and look very differently to the future, because when you're saying black is black, white is white by from the colors, and not trying to mixing because it's trying to bring as much as better for you, I think it's very important for your own nation, not for neighbors and for anyone. So I would say it's a painful story, but one of the things that I realized, why I said 100 years, I remember my grandfather told me some stories. I cannot share with my son, whatever I'm sharing with my son is more history. It's more important now to get ahead and look forward, because you cannot always look back saying, oh, it was genocide, that's why we need to look forward. That's why I'm a very positive person about looking and saying, yes, genocide we never forget. We never forget, but doesn't mean we never forgive. It's a different thing. We never forget about what happened with our nation. We never forget what it was again, 120,000 orphan kids means how many families were killed. How many families was, 1.5 million, just for your understanding, from 2 million. 2 million Armenians living in Turkey, 1.5 was killed or died. It's a 3/4 of the population, and it was the richest, by the way, part of the Turkey at the time. That's why, again, it's nothing that you can just say, oh, it's okay, it's happened, let's go ahead and no, but you need to remember, you need to look different. It doesn't mean you need to make the revenge or try to kill the 10 Turks just the only way you feel you're satisfied.
But is there a certain, let's say, national trauma?
Of course, it's a huge national trauma. No one family you can find in Armenia will ever lost some of the grandparents.
And how does it coin your identity? Are you a victim?
Oh yeah, our Armenian nation is a victim. We are psychologically weak, but this is a victim nation, absolutely. It's a victim nation with who is seriously trauma. It's a very serious trauma. It's not our cover. And we'll see the Jewish, it's a happening instinct. We are losing now last couple people who survived in genocide, because we're now 100 years old. And it's a 30 years difference. We'll see how will happen, what happened with the Jewish Holocaust, because in 30 years time will be the same story. We'll know nobody in life who saw the Holocaust in 45. It's becoming more history, but at the same time it's also becoming more aggressive, because now kids, like my kids, saying why we didn't fight, why our grandparents was not enough strong to defend our mothers and grandmothers. That's why it's becoming too extreme. One is a memory, the other is more aggressive, saying we need to fight for this. That's why it's a very dangerous element of the unification of the nation, which I believe it needs to be carefully managed, because otherwise it can create a lot of nationalism and a lot of chauvinism.
Kerstin?
You just mentioned if your daughter would suddenly want to marry a Turkish man, that it would be very difficult for you. And in our spirit of obligation to dissent, and I had the following thought. So Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see in the world, but he also said, for things to change, first I must change. And I wonder, why do you all the external work and stuff while still saying I couldn't cope with my daughter marrying a Turkish man? Why don't you first focus on sort of your mindset and attitude?
I didn't say I will not accepting. I will say it will be difficult discussion, because for me it will be a question we need to answer both of them about honest response to this question. It was genocide happen or not happen? Because not about the question I want to Turkish person apologize for genocide, but it's a question, can we be on? Because it's a question about looking the world in the same eyes. It's a question, can we find some mutual common views about some of the key elements, which I believe is very important. And one of them is genocide, because it's genocide. Okay, we can talk about many things. It was war, it was the bad. It was genocide. It was organized, very well planned. We can go, and it's saying, it's denying, it's creating for me a question how honest himself will be. That's why it's not a question about accepting him, the Turkish person. It's a question, can he and how he will bring his relatives and others in the story. Because for him it will be a very difficult choice.
But Ruben, you said you are a happy person. Are you a sad person? And when I'm calling
no, of course, the normal person, I can cry and I sad, and sometimes I was funny article in Financial Times about me a year ago, a grumbling optimist. I'm always grumbling and always complaining about, and I always find a lot of things which I don't like, but I'm not a sad person overall. But I have a sadness, of course, sometimes it's really, you cannot be always happy. By the way, happy doesn't mean you're always laughing and always enjoying. Happy is not means you have a different feeling.
I think don't take me wrong, it's more like a bus line, like a bus line, like a how to say, a deep one emotion, which is not, how to say, punctually happening because you're happy or sad. I think as a bus line, you don't see yourself as a sad person. So all the trauma, what you just described.
Yeah, because I'm alive. By the way, I will be very maybe straightforward. My main message to always what we're doing, saying be Armenian, be alive, it's the best answer. The Turkish plan is not exercised, not to become successful, because Armenians become successful, Armenians become part of the world, and with Sharaz Navur, with Andrea Agassi, with Cher and others, contributing for the world culture, science and other. This is the best way of saying whatever you plan, you didn't succeed in, because my success is the best answer, whatever. That's why, despite of some way to being successful, is helping me go out of a sadness, saying, yes, I'm very sad because we lost the culture elite, financial elite, all elite, normal people. Again, hundreds of thousands of people who can be different, they contribute to the world. At the same time, we are alive. We are a country who provides amazing, being small nation, 10 million, more scientists, culture leaders, and sport elite, and other. And that's why, no, I'm not feeling sad about it. I'm sad about what's happened in the past, of course. But again, I'm sadness person with the main driver now.
Any other? Yes, Maggie.
I have a question from before the break. You mentioned earlier that you don't like capitalism. You live in a communist country where you would get a kilo of...
Didn't like it also.
Pardon?
Didn't like also. The communists also didn't like it. The communist was also artificial double standards.
Yeah, and then there's socialism here. You see it on a really small scale compared to some countries like the U.S. That's huge.
No. U.S. not socialism, it's capitalism.
So what would be the alternative? That's my question to you. What do you see as being the best alternative?
I like the Sweden. Again, you're talking about Sweden, I will say more Protestant culture with the Sweden type of socialism. It's a capitalism with a socialist mixture. The state role is very critical, and it's a big question how state will become. Because the state becomes so critical in industrial society, because it was a big factory used to build, and the state become very heavy last 200 years only. Before 200 years, the state, which state you're living, it was not. By the way, nationality didn't exist 200 years ago. I just want to remind how we are short-term vision. 1820, China and India provide 50% of GDP worldwide. US was providing 1.5%, Russia was providing 2.5%, Europe. Okay, all history before, from 1820 to any time of history, was India and China was providing 50% of GDP of the world. The state was not important, not the nationalities. It's the Napoleon War bring the nationalities, and before it was no nationality. The Austro-Germany was the Roman Empire. I want to remind the name of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. It was the Roman Empire. It was rename it. And again, we have been living absolutely different where people identify by passport. There was no passport, and they can live in a different part of the territory. That's why I will say, the importance of the state become, especially industrialization, because big factories, big army, big heavy machine needs to produce this. Why it needs to consider the capital. Now, when there's 2% of people can influence the world, and they can live any place in the world, like my son, half Armenian, half Russian, Jewish, who grew up in Britain, studying US, speak Chinese, and living now in Hong Kong, Singapore. Which country control him, which country belongs, is his own choice, right? I guess they were a good debate from Jamaica. I'm sorry. It's Jamaica, US, Germany. Again, your own choice and your identification, Polish or German or whatever. I think it's an interesting situation because this 2% will make the difference in my view. With Elon Musk, Jewish, South African, went to America. Can you imagine he will go to Germany, or will go to Saudi Arabia, or will go to Nigeria? Again, I'm just giving you the extreme choice, but I'm saying it's his choice, right? He went to where he saw the opportunity to become successful. Now the question, what he needs to do to really attract the best people? If I'm coming back about the state, I don't like the thing, but ecosystem which he needs to build. It's a 4 element. People need to feel that a professional can become successful, and they can realize and grow. Second, they can feel safe for their families, healthcare, and education. This is 4 elements, and safe means broader safe, not about just safe from point of the police, but it's an ecosystem. So we've been living in this thing now, not by state, but the regions where people will start, like Silicon Valley, quite different compared to America, to the US states, or we're going to some states in the south of the US. That's why I think we will see some big transformation about capitalism, socialism, to the way it will be talented. Because two guys in Romania now may be creating something which can destroy the world or to save the world. And this is not, it's an entry, the cost is so low to make this some of the things which can destroy the world or save the world, but it will become not anymore controlled by just state. It will be controlled by humans, by values, by the people who will decide about meaning, belonging, and competence, right? It's a free element, by the way, we're talking about meaning, it's very critical. Belonging, which could we belong, and your competence. It's a triangle which needs to be very importantly balanced between this element. If you can ask specific questions, it will make your life much easier, happier. Right? It's a no capital, no socialism couldn't prove it with very good systems. They both failed because they provide a lot of interference by states and a lot of no freedom for the people. Despite all democracy, what we name it is not democracy, it's ochlocratia. Again, I don't want to go into discussion about ochlocratia. Who knows about the difference between demos and ochlos? Anyone knows that? Okay, in Greek, when you're talking about democracy, demos was the people who own something and they pass exams of the culture education, which means two requirements. You can have voting rights only if you own something, feel responsible. Second, you pass your exam of being culture educated. It was the demos. Ochlos was everybody who lived in this territory. Now, with endemic democracy, is not democracy, it's ochlocracy. Because everybody has a right to vote. It's a little bit different with what it means in democracy and antique time, which we not realize. Anyway, I don't want to go I can go history by instinct to point, but it's one of the elements. So I say we need to go back to the responsibility of the people to feel that they're responsible for their decisions, not about because what today is happening, populism. Extreme ultra-left, ultra-right coming back because people care about the future, they want to give easy answer. And not people not feeling responsible, but they're voting, it means responsibility. They're voting, they see it as my right, but it's not a responsibility to make the change. So I think it's becoming a very dangerous element for all of us.
But isn't that a definition of capitalism, to actually work for, to put into what you get?
Not exactly, because capitalism is a means where the capital is the driver. I think it's very important to understand. Capitalism means that who has a capital is the winner. Concentration of the capital allowed you to build big companies, allowed you to go colonize, it allowed you to buy assets. And so capitalism is a means of concentration of capital. Talentism means concentration of the 2% of the smartest people. So I say, in my view, we're entering an interesting world. Some of you stay here, some will go back in your own country, but this is a key question. Where is the talented people who will make the difference? Will live and what will be. So capitalism has no future because the main driver is the money. And money is nothing to, it's a measurement system, instrument, but not the end goal. That's why people voting for, doesn't matter GDP growing or not, people voting differently, right? This was interesting in the United States. Obama provided very good results for economic growth, and people hated Hillary or hated Trump and voted, they didn't care about GDP growth, right? Any more GDP growth is not becoming a key driver of the people's decision, or inflation, or because they have different criteria of whether they're happy or not. And the same in Brexit, okay? And same about all the stories happening now in Italy and other places. It's showing people not voting by material on the result, but also voting on something which they don't like about their future, but their life will not become better, they're not feeling secure, they're not feeling, and many other elements which not capitalism cannot provide, by the way. For example, the pension funds which eaten money is eaten, and it's not anymore what you are feeling, whatever you work in the next 40 years, you will be paid later because money is already disappeared. Most of the European countries are bankrupt by pension funds because we are eating money already from the 3 generations ahead. That's why we are facing interesting time. There's one of the things which I want to just say today. It's an ideal storm. It's a lot of, except a recession, economic recession, it's just we don't have it yet worldwide. It's the other phase we are ideal storm, which is great opportunity and great fear. Most people fear. So running back is isolation, populism, nationalism. It's all part of the fear about future. When you fear about future, you're trying to build your own walls, which has never helped, by the way. Trump never heard the history, but the Roman Empire was the strongest empire in the world, build the walls and didn't help them. Chinese was the strongest economy in the world, build the wall didn't help them. That's why any physical walls or any virtual walls will never help you if you're not solve the problem. Migration will destroy you. It doesn't matter, it's a question of time, of generation.
So we have now 3 questions left. I would say we are collecting the questions, and then maybe I'm sure you will combine.
Yeah, and I want probably especially one question answered about monastery.
Okay, so Lina, what is your question?
I know already. I know already.
But we don't know.
I will tell. I will
Yeah.
My question is about growth. Living in a world with obviously lesser and lesser resources. What is your opinion about growth?
Monica, what's your question?
Can I ask something not related?
Of course.
Okay, I want to ask you, like, do you know, is the next financial crisis coming?
Yes.
Okay. From this side here. Can you write down the questions, please? Okay, we do it differently. We change the concept. Monica asking about the next financial crisis. Sabria asked about what is the growth?
Growth, in a world of lesser and lesser resources.
So
what is your opinion about growth? Can we go can we go on? Can we continue like what we did?
So what are the limits of growth?
But by the way, give me also time to ask one question to the
Yes. Okay, good. Contradict? Impossible. Inquiry is one of the major skills.
I shocked or I bored.
Then I just wonder why you use the GDP as a measurement.
GDP as a measurement?
Yeah.
It's gone. It's end the story.
So what's the question? Whether
GDP is what the measurement. The GDP will continue. Yeah, will continue or not.
It's impossible to have no question. It's impossible. It's impossible.
When we're talking about the success before, and do you consider yourself as
Okay.
consider
Good
yourself as
question.
successful?
Successful.
Guys, once again, consider yourself as successful?
Success.
what is behind?
What is the question? You think Elizabeth?
My question
Right, please.
is, he said that he's part of so many organizations and leading in so many folds. Which of them does he guide day to day? Because I know he doesn't go to all of this every day. But then what does he do every day?
Okay.
And then the other thing is,
Question, no statement.
yeah, it's like that question, yeah.
Which organization?
There was mention of he has been able to make non-profits sustainable.
Yes.
I didn't get
Okay.
I will explain you. This is the second.
Ruben, this is a good one. Imagine you would apply on your own investment bank and you are sitting as an interviewee and then what was the question?
How did it go about imagining the next 25 years?
So, an easy one for you, I'm sure. Right?
So the next financial crisis is coming. What will you recommend us? Graduate.
I think they're all questions. I did having a discussion about this thing.
About what?
Okay, I'll tell you just. It's like we have heard of all of them that yes, there was a struggle for the career, and then their initial career, before the realization that yes, they want to give back to society as a social entrepreneur or something. But then during that struggle, what is that? How did they manage the struggle and how did they push themselves?
So say it in simple words. What is the question? Because you know what is my favorite formula in communication? KISS. Keep it short and simple.
How did you manage the struggle?
How do you manage the struggle? Of what?
Becoming
Become a social entrepreneur.
Okay, this is easy. Okay.
Yeah. So what is your plan? Where do you see yourself in the next 15 years?
15, okay.
10 to 5, okay.
25.
I have a question. So you say that the fear of future is making us do things which may not turn out to be the best thing for the future. If I take it to a personal level, the fear of failure is equal to stress and worries. And having a history of failure would put me in a more stressful position. How do you deal with that?
Don't scare me, fail.
Okay, one more.
I asked him like, how did he figure out what he needs to do the next 25
Yeah, the same story.
Okay, yes,
In regards to the selection process of seeing what projects and what topics you actually invest in and support, what are the key, what is the one thing that you look for in all of these kind of projects and topics?
Okay.
Okay.
What advice you want to give to MBA students?
What is
Advice.
advice for MBA
One
students?
advice.
Okay, that's a good one.
I want to know how does he resolve conflicts?
How do you resolve conflicts?
What was the most difficult conflict that he had in terms of persons, like when there were a lot of people sitting together and they can't form a consensus?
Okay.
How does he go about solving
Okay,
this?
good. You know, we have the privilege that we have two ex-McKinsey consultants. This is Jasmine and Kerstin. And they are so, let's say, talented, I think, to cluster it and I think to distill the key question. So what is the key question? And what is
My key
connection?
question is, what are the 3 questions you would like to respond to?
This is how actually consultants are.
Yeah, usually, yeah. And sending me the bill saying, by the way.
This is fantastic.
So, I mean, my mission is to make
Yeah.
happiness work, and I will make him happy by letting him choose.
No.
Okay.
And then, but I think you have to add. I'm not responsible.
I'm not responsible.
Okay, so let's do it the McKinsey way.
Yeah. Okay.
So what is the these 3 questions I think you would like to build up?
First, I think a lot of people ask me about this 25 years exercise. I saw it like what's common. Yeah, provocative. The other question was, I think it's interesting because of social impact, social entrepreneurs, what means self-sustainability and how it all works. It was a question which was asked by Lina and by, I think the third is what to do. I think what is the advice to be MBA student and what is the crisis coming. Again, it's all about link. Okay, we're scared about future. What will be your advice? This is the 3 questions, should I say?
Yeah.
More or less summary.
If you think so.
Most of the, because the GDP or growth or everything is about, all of that. Okay. And I will ask all of you have one question from my side, okay? Yeah. Okay. Great.
That's just one thing.
Let's go from easy part about social and self-sustainability. It will be a short case study about the Tatev monastery, which was presented by some of your colleagues, which read it but not fully. I will describe the situation and you will give me a solution. The monastery is an 8th century unique monastery, 1,000 monks in a time now, only 2 monks, destroyed by earthquake, not recovered by Soviet system, basically in the 90s fully destroyed by fresque and anything lost. It's a 6-hour drive from capital of Yerevan. Around this monastery, it's 9 villages which are dying because of 8% unemployment, only old people. Only 17 kids went to the school in 2009 when we came to this place to first class, which means from 9 villages, 17 kids. There was no young kids, no young families. 4,000 tourists coming to this place to visit because 6 hours drive with no bus, only 4-wheeled car, no roads, and this horrible thing. And we said, okay, and we did a plan with McKinsey, by the way, about the tourist development. I said how to make the circle Armenia, not by coming from only capital and going back and forth. And after, because Armenia very proud being Christian country, we have hundreds of monasteries, okay? We're all very old, we're all beautiful. But after 3 or 4, you're becoming tired because, again, you cannot see any more difference and you're saying, okay, it's great, but like Anders described, is a unique monastery with the built inside like Petra, inside of the rock. That's why the acoustic is so unique because it's done not by the artillery, the monastery built inside of the rocks. And the other monasteries like ours, the Tatev, it's again, other unique elements. To make long story short, we look at this picture and say, okay, usually when you're talking about social entrepreneurs, is how to make project with the combined profit and social impact in one project. It not always needs to be the same. We can combine holistic approach, commercial, social impact, and charity project under one vision. So, okay, we need to restore monastery, and a lot of donors want to restore because it's a unique monastery, okay? 1,111 years old, super. But doing restoration monastery does not make sense because you cannot, nobody will come see it because it's 6 hours drive. To build a road does not make sense because the road will be every year needs to renovate it and it will be huge money and you'll never can. Plus, there's 9 villages is dying because they don't have a job. And also, I came to okay, let's build a cable car, which will bring people from, will save 1.5 hours, it'll be easier to access, plus it'll create some interesting attraction. And by the way, without purpose, it would become longest in the world cable car to the Guinness record. It's $13 million. People said, you crazy? Not working. EBRD, IFC, all the say will not give money. It will never work. It doesn't make sense. It's crazy, stupid money to waste. The government came to me and said, Ruben, we like you a lot. We want you to save $4 million. What do you mean save $4 million? You'll spend only $9 million, $1 million by each village. You're doing infrastructure, water, electricity, sanitation. Everybody will pray for you. Everybody will be proud of what you did, and will be very happy, and you will save $4 million. I said, no, because after 5 years, it will all become the same, and people will not come back. So we're building cable car. We built in 2009, it was 4,000 people went to this place. We built the cable car in 2010. How many you guess people came to the next year to this place? No, 1 million will be impossible. 150,000 people. Okay, it's create now 25 hotels and breakfast. B&B was opened by local people. The souvenir sales had $200,000. The $1.5 million revenue from selling the tickets, which covering the whole operation expense plus creating some revenue to go to the monastery. And now you're getting absolutely around 400 jobs was created because of the directly and indirectly. It's not changed everything, but now the young people staying and speaking English, Russian, we're getting this tourism. So this is an example of you bringing the monastery to charity. You say partially charity because the capex will never pay back for the cable car, and you now had a pure commercial project like the hotels, markets, souvenirs, which help to make ecosystem and bring us all under one absolutely, and now become destination. If you come to Armenia and not going this place, people will be surprised. Before, nobody was going, okay? So it's a very good example about just explaining how it works. Okay, it's a holistic approach, combining commercial, charity, social project under one umbrella with the vision how it can help each other. Because small countries, one of the challenges to me.
Why do you do what you do?
Because I'm happy. No, but this is important to anchor project. This is why, how we choose the project. It's anchor project, which was very important in being multi-effect, and it's bring the opportunity to bring a lot of small projects around. That's why we are looking always anchor project. Because we cannot go from government, because we're not a government agency, and from bottom to up, a lot of small projects done by many people. But the small project, the problem is that you cannot make the changes. That's why I say anchor project. Our philosophy is doing anchor projects. That's why we have 4 or 5 anchor projects, really multi-tasks, long-term oriented, very ambitious. It's by best international standards, and it's really creating transformation. This is the philosophy about what we're trying to do in Armenia or in any other places. The second question about how I see 25 years ahead. I will tell you 2 stories, one about past and one about today. Very brief. How much time we have? How much?
1 minute.
-5.
No, I need to have time for us to ask.
Sky's the limit. Come on. Yeah.
Okay, I was 15 years old in the Soviet system. I had no clue what the Soviet Empire will fell apart. It was 1983. I was saying, okay, what do I want to do in my life? I said, oh, I like it. Like my father and grandfather were being professor. I want to be professor. Okay, I want to be professor, but I'm not talented like my father being architecture. I used to become economist because I want to be also traveling abroad, and I try to make the money being economist professor. This is popular. Sorry. Okay, in this case, I need to go to the best university in Moscow, which was Moscow University. I came and Moscow University checked and said, okay, I will become professor of university. I will be Communist Party member. I will go back. I will live a nice life. This is my 25 years ahead, how I see it. Came back, my father said, no way, you will not go to Moscow, we're not allowed you to go because you will meet Russian, you will not come back, which is true, it all happened, he was right. And he was smart and he knows what happened with me. Anyway, long story short, I convinced him, finally my sister and my little friends convinced him, and he allowed me to go to Moscow University when I was 17 years old. 17 years, I came to Moscow, 1985, Perestroika, Glasnost, Gorbachev. 1986, I went to army. 1988, I coming back and I realizing what was my plan is not working. The country going absolutely different direction. Is not, empire will not survive, and all my plans being professor of economy will not work. It took me 1 year to think what will happen. I said, okay, it's 2 options. Soviet Union will collapse and will become nightmare. It will be a horrible place. It will be, in this case, the immigration, I need to immigrate in Argentina or New Zealand because it will be horrible for the world. It's not will be safe if I will immigrate to US or to Europe. Other option are Soviet Union will convert to the market economy. It will become, okay, if not market economy, today in the government planning system, everything is planned by government. Which institution will replace the government planning? Oh, it will market economy means it will be securities market, it will be banking system. I don't have money to have a bank. I can build securities firm. That's why I chose to become the investment banker in 1989, but nobody knew anything about it. By the way, at the time, it was less than 1,000 people in Russia and Soviet Union know the difference between the equity and bond market. Because there was nobody, nothing existed. That's why it was the exercise I'm saying. It's not like I planned for 25 years and I stuck 25 years, doesn't matter. But as soon as I understand something going wrong, I change again, I think about something which will be. That's why it's very important when you're doing exercise. You don't just oh, no. I want to become professor. Doesn't matter what happened with me, I will be continuing. The other option, I thought about emigration. I said, okay, if I want to stay professor, I want to go to America and become professor in America. There's other option, but I said, no, I don't believe there will be Soviet Union will be it's unique opportunity. Collapsing of Soviet Union will be horrible bad. If not collapsing, huge opportunity. Why I want to become professor? It's a great chance. Now it's about the next 25 years. Okay, I'm 50 years old. I said, okay, I don't want to become politician. I don't want to, by the way, what you say also not what you want to, but also you don't want. I don't want to become politician. I don't want to retire and sitting in fishing and enjoying the life. I'm an active social person. I like the communication. I like the people. I like the active life. Okay, I want to become social entrepreneur. Social entrepreneur, but also impact on investing of all the money that we earn and also raising money from others. By the way, I'm raising a lot of money. By the way, I'm a very unusual rich person, which we didn't talk about. I raise a lot of money from other people, which is not normal and not easy. When you're rich, usually you're doing your own project and you're not asking other people to support you because or you have public funds or you're doing by your own money. But we are doing very unusual, not only holistic approach, but also approach of the getting other people's money from our project. So I said, okay, it's a two option. One option, we're getting full crisis. We now talk about what crisis is coming. The crisis coming is unavoidable. Again, I'm recommending you to watch the movie. Who knows the movie maker Kim Ki-duk, the Korean? Kim Ki-duk, I recommend you watch some of his movies. One of the best. Kim Ki-duk. Kim Ki-duk, his movie name is Spring, Summer, Autumn, Winter, and Spring Again. It's one of the best movies about, I'll say, about something which we cannot, the cycle will go again and again. We will face the crisis. Europe, first time ever in history of Europe, living 50 years more, 75 years without war or without diseases. Every 50 years, history of Europe, was the 1/3 of the adult was killed or died because of diseases. It's the first time we're living in a situation where this is not happening so long. We got 7 billion people. I just want to remind you, 100 years ago, it was only 2 billion people, less. Okay? And by the way, just for you to understand what happened with Russia, it's just one additional. In the time when Russia was empire, it was 180 million people living in Russia. It was 1.8 billion people. Russia was 10% of the population of the world. US was 60 million, and many countries was much more. 100 years later, US is now 340 million. Russia is same 145 million, because if you adding in the Poland and a couple of territories we lost, it will be same 180 million people. In 100 years' time, nothing changed in Russia. That's why we lost it, and the population becomes 7 billion. We'll face some crisis, and the crisis will be unavoidable. It's part of like winter, and you cannot say it will be. The question, can we destroy the world fully or not, is I don't know. The crisis will come, and it will be coming because of the couple of elements, because of fear of the future, because of the polarization of wealth, polarization of mindset, polarization of and technology illusion, which some people has, what they can advantage of the win the war. Because usually, when the war started, with somebody getting advantage of the technology and believe he can beat others because there's a technology advantage. This is one of the reasons of the war started. The other is when you're getting second biggest economy, like Germany in the First World War, feel unfair about what's happening in the world and try to redistribute the assets. The third reason, and people have so many problems, to destroying the capital, capex, is the best way to restart the economy. The US came out from depression because of the restarting of rebuilding Europe. It was the best way how you can restart all your problems and pension problems. That's why I'm not trying to bring this dumb scenario, but I'm saying a lot of elements showing we are going in a big crisis for different reasons, and for leadership, lost leaderships. That's why we need to be ready in the next 25 years. That's okay. It's two options. If I believe this will be a doom scenario, again, I need to go to New Zealand and I need to go in the south of Argentina and hope in these places will be less affected. Otherwise, I'm not consistent, because one important will be consistent. Okay? If I'm not believing this will happen, and I hope despite all risks will have I need to do everything possible to Russia, which is isolated, to continue part of this globe, because I don't see isolation as a solution for a world to survive. So for me, I said 25 years, I will spend my education, sustainable development, and migration will be my vision about spending my time and trying to build this infrastructure instruments. So again, I'm trying to explain to you it's a not very complicated, thoughtful process taking hours. It's not easy. It looks like very simple, but it's not easy. But if you ask this question, and also how you measure success, and what kind of risk you're willing to take. For example, I'm willing to take with my wife, but lose all our money. I took a risk that we will be start from nothing again. We took the risk that our success is not about how much wealth we will leave our kids, but what kind of project we will do. So it's very important what kind of risk you're willing to take, what kind of measurement of success you're trying to measure And now today, for example, I want now, coming back to last your advice and question about what I want to ask you. You came here today. How many of you have tomorrow exams? I heard you have an exam. You tomorrow? Friday, this week, okay. I want to tell you one story, which is a real story. I will not name it, and I hope you keep it in your minds. 1981, in one business school, one guy, I don't want to mention the name, I want to mention business school, because they try and keep it confidential, came to make the speech, a graduation speech. Let's assume it's Warren Buffett, it's a little easier for you just, he came out, he said, he looked at the audience, everybody, it's a top business school, and he looked and said, I'm Warren Buffett, I was born this year, started my company this year, I'm doing investment, this is my strategy, how I'm making decision, I have a family, and 10 minutes later he stopped. He said, you know what, I'm looking at all your eyes, and I see no interest, you're boring, uninteresting people. I don't want to waste my time, and he left. Huge scandal. People look at the documents and they see that no timing mentioned, but he needs to tell about his story, about his business, about his success, and he made everything. The question was 10 minutes or 1 hour. It's a graduation speech. Anyway, it was a huge scandal. They tried to close. It was very not public. And real story, by the way. I'm not saying you, it's not a joke, not an anecdote. In 2005, we looked at the results of the business school graduations, of the entire life of his business school. What do you think? What happened with class results? What's your view?
I would say they were pushed.
They've been best of history of the school. Best of history of the school. Now, one thing I want to tell you my advice. I know the time is one of the, you were saying, but sure. One thing I want to give you, just keep in mind, if you're doing something, do 100%. If you came with class, use maximum. I can see you're sitting and say, oh, we must do this class. I have some other problems. It's a little bit interesting, but doesn't matter where. I'm here with you, I'm 100% in. I'm not a little bit, I'm sure to say this in semi-pregnant, you know? No, I'm fully pregnant, okay? I'm fully pregnant with all of you. I want to get, if I'm here, I want to get the maximum from all of you. I want to learn from you. You're not. And I'm saying, what's the care? I say, Andres, why we're so indifferent? Why? Because if people ask me what is my indifference is killing. You are not an interesting person. You don't have a curiosity. Nobody will be interested in you. Because you need to send this message about your curiosity, your interest about life, your interest about the learning. You're sitting here with no eyes. And I say, why are we doing this again? I understand maybe Ruben Vardanyan is not the Bill Gates and not the whatever person would you win by celebrity. But we're getting, Andrea is doing something unbelievable. And you can see your eyes and saying, why you are so indifferent? What makes you, it's not reason, you're already here. Anyway, whatever reason, you're already here. Be fully engaged. That's my advice to you. Okay, now my question, right?
Yes, please. Yes.
I'm surprised that you're not asking me a question, and I want to ask your help. By the way, one of the things which helped me a lot in my life, I never scared to ask about help. I ask about people help me all the time. People scared to ask me help because people look weak. And people say if I'm asking about help, it means I'm something cannot do it. And so people, this is why most of people are scared saying I need your help. I don't know how you ask. For example, sorry, I don't know what I ask, how I ask the question. Or Ruben, can you help me? But it's impossible because you're losing your face. You're losing immediately about failure. Now, Who read about my last week? I've been very popular in lots of newspapers in Europe and in Russia. Who knows about it? Yeah. How many of you follow my? No? Okay. I want. Okay, 2 of you. Andres was enough brave to invite me, despite it was. The last 10 days, there was articles published about me that I'm money laundering genius, and I did 10 years ago, Troika Dalga Investment Bank did money laundering and a lot of other bad things. Despite I'm not guilty, I'm not involved personally, but the way how we presented it was presented to the newspaper. Andres didn't cancel my speech, which is a surprise because usually after immediately most of the people say, oh, no, wait, sorry, the students cannot hear this type of the story from the guys, it will be impossible. What will be your advice? What I need to do? Now, formally, legally, no requirements, but no claim to me. Dirty story put me 12 years ago, something which happened, which mixing everything, true, not true, lot of things we found about the banks, which is absolutely falsified. What will be your advice? And you will come and it will be your advice to me to how to handle this.
But do you understand the topic?
Yes.
What's about? Yeah. Yeah? Okay.
Can you give a little bit more?
Yeah, the special journalist consortium exists. We're trying to find this all money laundering.
Well, let me do it with my words.
Yeah, maybe better you explain. By the way,
no, I think because I'm afraid that you're coming too complex. And in single terms, Ruben is accused that while he was running the Troika investment banks, there was a huge money laundering. That means 8 billion,
4.6 billion.
4.6 billion money, $, were actually laundered through his bank. He was a CEO, he was a president. CEO. And he didn't know, question mark, why you don't know? First one. Secondly, it's not how to say there's no proof of evidence. It's not how to say it's somehow.
Not legally proved, yeah.
Of course, I think Soviet Union in these days was absolutely Wild West or Wild East, and it was gray zone, and many things happened which, how to say, under today's conditions seems to be super suspicious. And thirdly, why it popped up now after how many years? 12 years. So this is how to say the frame. Regardless whether Ruben is guilty or not, it doesn't matter because media actually coins reality. And from this day on, he has a big issue with his reputation. And then what happens all the time, and this is very painful, when you are under suspect and you suddenly, how to say, you are seen as somebody who eventually have done this and have done that and so on and so on. Suddenly, everyone says, oh, Ruben, yeah, you know. And this is awful, awful. So what is your advice?
My advice is actually a question. Why, or do you? Well, I mean, why is it important what the other thinks? For you?
Yeah.
Good point.
Why is this reputation important? Okay, maybe some people say, oh, goodbye, but are they really important then? So why, I mean, I don't want
No.
It's more like
thank you.
asking
So
why is this reputation and why the other things important?
Well, what the hell is he?
It's not
But how many will not come to this meeting if you know about the story in details? How many will not say, come, I will not come to this meeting, Ruben, because I'm not...
I would have not come.
Will not come.
You? What?
No, I was asking if I would have come,
no.
I would have not come. I wasn't sure.
How many would have not come?
Yeah.
One more reason to come.
In this situation, I will tell you something. Even if you did money laundering, even if you did, in this situation, what you have to do, your enemy will be one: fear. If you have fear, that will be your enemy. So don't allow fear to enter in your life, wherever situation. That will be the only enemy. But the other things, it's life. You have to say, in life it's like this. Everything happens, it's life. In life, always give us surprises. But still dancing, still singing, whatever situation. Stay who you are. And the second, I want somebody who to translate it, because it's
When you're playing football, you only, like in the playground, when you play football, you only attack the person who has the ball.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, you will be attacked even tomorrow.
Oh yeah, more and more.
Continue to dream, continue to win.
Thank you. No, it's very important, by the way. I really appreciate it. Again, I'm a very frank guy and straightforward. I'm really asking is not because I want to get honest and frank also respond. Some will be unhappy also to say, by the way, you heard 2 hours my speech with you. I was surprised when nobody raised this question because I thought it would be part, but I thought it would be right to raise now, knowing about this part. You change your mind about what you heard about from me, or you have a different understanding who I am. What is the output from all of you? Being never met me before, no, only Maggie, who knows?
Yes.
Yeah, Chris, yeah, okay.
Lina.
My question, I guess, or if I were in your shoes, the first thing that I would think about is what risk does this put on my family?
Yes.
Because they are who I'm responsible for. And then if I can protect them, then for myself, words can't harm me.
Okay.
In the end, often becomes an opportunity if you play it the right way. And with this, I see two big opportunities. The first opportunity is that it will give you the chance to recognize who your real friends and partners are. I mean, probably you would want to proactively communicate to some people and explain to them that you had no clue about this and reassure their trust. But the people who really know you will understand or not even doubt that you might have done something like that. The second thing is, and that goes even further, I think there are a lot of examples in the world where people who were accused of something in the end became the champions of the same problem. There are so many CEOs who have no clue what is happening in their organizations. And at the end of the day, you could probably now become the big coach who helps CEOs to figure out how to learn from what you experienced. Because certainly you would have to reflect on what happened while I was in this investment bank that made me not see that this scandal actually occurred. But this is really valuable knowledge for anybody else who's in your position. So I would just flip it around and start making it your topic.
But it's about being a container for so many different very important projects. And when now suddenly, and Sabrina knows it by heart, when suddenly reputation is damaged and suddenly people step out, you have a personal issue, but more importantly, all what you build, what you created, what you want to evolve, suddenly is very can only maybe has to stop. This has impacts on the community, on individual people who are in somehow threatened, and this is how to say for me the most difficult part, when suddenly this reputation is somehow undermined, and it has consequences because people now will step out. And even being a rich man, you are never ever rich enough. I met once Melinda Gates, and he told me when the Gates Foundation, the world's biggest, wealthiest foundation on this planet, would not have any more additional funding, they have to close the shop after 1 year. And we're talking about the Gates Foundation. The Gates Foundation, billions. So that means the necessities is so large, is so broad, that you need all the time support. And now comes, of course, when you talk, you want to do, let's say, public-private partnerships. And then comes, of course, all this compliance stuff that suddenly there will be, for the city of XYZ wants to now say, okay, we're going to give you the land, we're going to give you the authority, we're going to give you the permission, we're going to give you money. Then, of course, comes the whole compliance thing. Then they check in the internet and say, okay, who is this Ruben? And then they say, oh. And then nobody wants to risk his ass because then this guy is, how to say, suspicious. And this is a crime.
I just thought to myself, would it help? I don't know whether it would make worse, but I have seen, a lot of big people, and there are some guys, of course, attacking them basically maybe because of their own interests. And these are usually like your enemies, and they come to you because they want to destroy you somehow. Would it help if you, for example,
sat down and looked at the situation, or you had somebody do that, and then you put everything together and you have like, you hold an interview and you address the issue and you sort of like try to explain somehow and have it, I don't know, in the public or I don't know where, but just try to put the facts down and to let people know that this is not what it is.
Said, I don't know what the legalities are. I would not comment on that. But I can say one thing, that in the 2 hours that I've been listening to you, I have collected some points which are really important and good for me. So to me, you are still an inspirational person if it answers to your question that you asked. That is everything, does everything still hold true? Maybe people who agree with me can raise hands.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, Kerstin, close the shop.
Yes, I closed the shop. So in search of meaning, your first response was, I want to be happy. And you are a curious person. I think your question just underlined that. So we have the perfect book for you.
Thank you.
It's called How to Have a Great Day, based on the recent science in neurosciences and positive psychology. So we hope that you have many, many more great days despite this current challenge.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.